What is going on, everyone? This is the RideAlong Sports Show, and we are here live for the first time ever on Twitch. So if you're watching this on that, thank you. You are one of our very first viewers. We are also live on YouTube, as we always are. I'm here with Brandon. He's the best producer in the business. I'm Zach Ainsworth. Not really the best at anything. But Brandon, how are you doing today?
I'm good, man. Just loving life. Just taking advantage of a great football season and taking advantage of the last few warm days that we have left. And I don't know what it's like where you live, but here we're getting that chill in the air. It's the leaves are falling. And what does that mean, Zach?
It means football season's getting close to an end.
That's right.
Unfortunately. It's crazy to think, man, that we're already here at week 11. This is going to be week 11?
12.
12? Whatever week it is, it's crazy. We're almost at the end. Next weekend's rivalry weekend. Yeah. You know, you'll have the Egg Bowl on Thursday. You'll have the Iron Bowl on Saturday. The game between Ohio State and Michigan. A lot of huge games coming up next week, and it's a good thing, too. You know why?
Why is that?
Because this week doesn't have very many great games. Now, you know us here. We can't get enough of college football. We live, we breathe, we die. We eat up college football, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. And that's what we're all about. That's all we talk about here on the show is college football. And it's almost at the end. I'm a little sad, but next week's going to be a great conclusion. Got a lot of great games coming. Even though this week looks a little down, especially in the SEC, got a lot of cupcakes, we're still going to make it interesting. We've still got some good content for you tonight. And there's, as long as college football is going on, there's never a bad weekend of college football. Unless you're some of these teams that got beat last week, Brandon. I know you were on the receiving end of a pretty bad one. In Athens, Ole Miss falls to Georgia 52-17. Ole Miss was really in it in the first half, Brandon, especially at the end of the first quarter. It was 14-14. A night game in Athens. It was kind of looking like, maybe Lane's got something up his sleeve, but really it was obvious to a lot of people that Georgia was going to be able to get a stop way before Ole Miss was going to be able to get a stop, and that's exactly what happened. Georgia continued to score at will. Ole Miss just couldn't keep up. Jackson Dart threw an interception that set up a field goal in the first half, or at some point in the game. Maybe it was early third quarter. Yeah. But long story short, Georgia had no problem scoring on this Ole Miss defense. They had 1 third down the entire first half, I believe. They punted once, and it was in the second half when they punted. Anything they wanted to do, they were able to do on offense, and Ole Miss just obviously wasn't equipped to keep up. I was in the stadium. It was an awesome environment.
RideAlong sports correspondent right there, folks.
I was in the stadium. It was an awesome environment. Great atmosphere. College game day was there. Great time in Athens. But Brandon, as an Ole Miss fan, was this kind of what you expected? I know you picked Georgia to win. I mean, I think ultimately most people picked the Dogs to win. No one really thought obviously Ole Miss had a shot, but even us, we thought it would be a little closer, and most people, I think, on the national stage thought this would be a closer game. Were you a little surprised by this outcome, or was it not surprising at all, or maybe a little shocked, a lot shocked? What were you feeling?
The result of the ball game, is, like I said, it's hard. I think you go into this game, and I think the fans were sort of ready for a loss. We were looking, I say we, the Ole Miss fans were looking towards upward towards a 10-win season. You still have to go through Louisiana Monroe, and you've got the Egg Bowl versus Mississippi State. But I think, you always want to hold out hope. And just like every year, Ole Miss has to play Alabama, just like a lot of other teams have to play Alabama. You always go into that game, and there's a great chance you're going to lose, but you always have that little bit of hope. Now, I will say for this game here, Ole Miss doesn't play Georgia that much. The last time was back in 2016. Obviously, they somehow managed to to have to play them again next year, 2024 season. That one will be in Oxford. But looking in this game, I think it is disappointing, like the lack of production in the second half. That hasn't really been something that Ole Miss has struggled with in the second half, at least not from my observation. There's been some close games. There's been some, for a lack of a better term, shootouts this season. But for Georgia to just shut them down, really, and honestly, I said last week, Ole Miss is probably going to score maybe their last touchdown sometime in the third quarter. Middle ways to the third quarter, into the third quarter. Well, no. It was barely into the second quarter. Really could have been the end of the first quarter. Lane Kiffin decided to take the timeout between quarters to figure out what they're going to do there, and they scored there just shortly into the second. But, exciting game. I'm sure it was a great atmosphere there. I can't imagine it looked like that on TV, even with the weather, which you said wasn't actually that bad.
Now, the morning at College game day,
it was a little rough.
We were freezing. It was raining. But by the time the game kicked off, no, it wasn't bad. And, watching how Ole Miss was successful on the first few drives, they were really able to run the ball. Yeah. Jackson Dart, he never really looked comfortable the whole game. If you may remember, the very first play of the game, he missed a wide-open Dayton Wade running down the middle of the field. I will say wide open. I mean, he had a couple steps on the guy. It'd have been a big play. He missed a throw later in the game where the guy had a step on one of our safeties. In a game like that, Brandon, where you're on the road in a hostile environment, you have to have big plays from your quarterback. We talked about that last week, right?
Yes.
Georgia loses to elite quarterbacks. That's all Georgia has really lost to over the past several years. I mean, you think about it, C.J. Stroud, he didn't beat them, but they very well should have won that game, and C.J. Stroud played an elite level. Joe Burrow, I don't need to say much else. Bryce Young, first overall pick. I mean, you have to have an elite quarterback minus that game in Athens that South Carolina beat Georgia in a wacky game with several turnovers, bad weather, yada, yada. And I said on last week's podcast, Jackson Dart, needs to be elite if they want to beat Georgia. You have to have elite QB play. Mm-hmm. I don't think we saw elite QB play, but I don't know if it would have mattered how good Ole Miss's offense did with the way Georgia was able to score the football. Defense couldn't get a stop. That's by far the worst the defense has looked, I would say, for Ole Miss all year. Probably the best offense they've also played all year. But, I kind of expected Ole Miss's defense to do a little better than they did. I don't know if I think it's somewhere in the middle. I don't think Ole Miss's defense is that awful. I think Georgia's got a really, really good offense with a lot of playmakers, and Carson Beck's really good. Been saying that for a long time.
Yes, you have. Yes, you have.
I've been on that train for a long time, but man, it's total domination. Georgia proved that they should be the number one team in the country. And hey, I'm not trying to down Ole Miss. Look, if you go 10-2 at Ole Miss and your only losses are to Alabama and Georgia, there's nothing at all wrong with that. Like, that is a very, very great season. Yes, you would have liked to go 12-0. Yeah, that's the ultimate goal, is to go undefeated, win every game, win the national title. Look, if you're Ole Miss, sure, you would have wanted this game to be a little more competitive, especially on the national stage, but you have nothing to hang your head about. If you take care of business against ULM and Mississippi State, you're 10-2, probably in a New Year's Six bowl, and man, you'd probably make the playoffs if it was the 12-team playoff era. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, is there really anything an Ole Miss fan can complain about?
No, I mean, really not. You've got Lane Kiffin still on a good track. He's building a great career there at Ole Miss. He's on track to have, like I said a minute ago, and like you just said, his second 10-win season in 3 seasons. They went 8-4, 8-5 last year.
8-4, I believe.
8-4.
Well, before the bowl game.
Yeah. But let me just, because I've got a lot to say about this game, and I'll start with Ole Miss, and I'll say about the defense first. We knew that the defense has been the weak point of the Rebels for a few years now. You've got a new coordinator coming in there, and You heard this from Alabama fans. They were glad to see him leave.
Pete Golding. Yeah, they were.
This game right here really tells you one thing that, and I've had some talks with people in comment sections very briefly this week about it. It's in a team like Georgia really exposes this, but it's the talent discrepancy is what is so blatant there. Like, I think Pete Golding's doing a good job. I think the way he's running the defense, scheme-wise, and all that, I think that's great. Like, from the previous defensive coordinator or defensive coordinators, the way they've been doing it, to now, I think I would say leaps and bounds better, but you can only do so much when you have talent that's not up to par and can't match up with a team like Georgia. Georgia exposed them. Ladd McConkey, he's an incredible wide receiver, and I'll talk about him in just a second. But, I mean, that's basically it. Like, you got to give Pete Golding some time to get some better players, because there's only so much you can do.
Yeah.
I mean, that's just basics of football.
You sound like Lane Kiffin, because this is essentially what he said in his post-game interview. He said Georgia has 24 5-stars. We have 1.
Exactly.
We've got to recruit better, have better talent. And it's no secret, Ole Miss hasn't recruited at the highest level, at the high school ranks under Lane Kiffin. They've done a really good job in the transfer portal. But I think Lane's starting to see now you can do as well as you want in the portal, but you still have to have younger guys. You have to have depth. It's not just about winning the transfer portal.
We've talked about this before, like the transfer portal, the way it's used now is like this new thing, and it hasn't been proven that you can take a transfer team and win a championship with it, because it hasn't happened yet.
It hasn't happened yet. Now, Mike Norvell down at Florida State, they've done a really good job, and of course they're undefeated. A lot of their guys are transfers. Their quarterback's a transfer. Their best wide receiver's a transfer. Their best edge rusher, Jared Verse, is a transfer from Albany. They are the first ones that I've seen so far that have a real shot to go to the playoffs with this new transfer model. But we'll see if it's sustainable when these guys graduate and leave. But, Lane's doing a heck of a job recruiting this year. If you look at the top 10 recruits in the country, like on On3 and 247 Sports, I want to say the last time I looked at it, Ole Miss has got 7 or 8 maybe, or 6 or 7, somewhere in there of the top 10 guys in the state of Mississippi. And look, you might not think of Mississippi as some powerhouse state as far as producing talent, but the facts are Mississippi State produces, the state of Mississippi produces a lot of talent, really. Got, Camarion Franklin, I think that's how you say his first name, is committed to the Ole Miss Rebels. It was a dogfight. He's a 5-star on the D-line.
Yeah.
Jamonta Waller, I know he's the number 2 player in the state of Mississippi. He's committed to Auburn. But you're getting a lot of these guys. Braylon Burnside, a great athlete out of Starkville High School. He just decommitted from Mississippi State, and I've seen him saying in interviews that he really likes Lane Kiffin and what Ole Miss is doing. Look, this is what you got to do if you're Ole Miss. You've got to get this talent on defense to help Pete Golding. And look, they did it last year with one player, Suntarine Perkins.
Yes.
He's going to be really good. He was a 5-star last year. He didn't play as many snaps against Georgia as I thought he would, or maybe I just didn't see him on the field as much. But I think he's going to be a really good player, but it takes more than one. And, yes, transfer portal helps. If you can get guys who are established to come over and help, but you also have to build depth, quality depth.
Yes.
Now, you can't just have somebody out there it's easy to build depth. To build quality depth, though, that's much harder to do. You look at the top programs in the country, they have quality depth. Georgia, quality depth. Alabama's had quality depth for a long time. Ohio State, quality depth. Basically, all the top programs you see in the country, they have good depth. It's not just 1 or 2 guys running the show.
Yeah.
They've got quality football players.
Right.
And, I think good times are ahead for Ole Miss, especially with the 12-team expansion coming. But do you have anything else you want to touch on this game?
And that's pretty much well said about Ole Miss. I think they've got a good future ahead of them, bright future. We'll have to see. I am kind of excited with Texas and Oklahoma coming in. I think the Rebels have to play Oklahoma next year. Be interested to see what those matchups are like. But let me talk about Georgia for a minute. This team proved, and the playoff committee agreed, they are the number one team in the country. That's where I felt like they should have been in the playoff all along. But you have Carson Beck back there. And one thing to mention about this game, that offensive line, well, both lines that Georgia has, that offensive line is incredible.
They didn't touch Carson Beck.
Did not touch. Ole Miss could not get to him, could not even pressure him. And when you can block for a quarterback, especially a good quarterback like him, you allow him to make the absolute best decisions. And then him and Ladd McConkey.
And Brock Bowers was back.
Can we
talk about that?
Yeah. He and I had a note here where he caught his first pass. I can't remember. It was in the second quarter. Just under 12 minutes in the second quarter, he caught his first pass. But,
he was in the game before that.
Yeah. But he didn't have to contribute that much. There was no way he was going to miss the game. Had the high ankle sprain, had the tightrope surgery. Obviously, if he couldn't go, he wasn't going to go. But you can imagine senior night, this environment, this kind of game, for a kid like him,
I'll say this about Brock Bowers, and I'll just say it. Brock Bowers, to me, is the best player in the country, not just because of what he can do on the field. He's a mismatch at tight end. He blocks really well. He's a great receiver. There's not much Brock Bowers doesn't do really well. But, man, this kid didn't have to play. How many times have we seen someone get injured, and when they're going to be a top 10 draft pick, they just sit out?
Absolutely.
I'll say this about him. I think he embodies what college sports should be and are about. The guy, listen, he came back from tightrope surgery in 26 days. That's faster than Tua came back, and Tua played quarterback, and they didn't let him move. Yeah. Brock Bowers was running routes. Yeah. He was blocking 250-pound humans. He was cutting. He was doing all these things only 26 days after having tightrope surgery. I think it's the fastest time anyone has ever come back from it. He caught a touchdown. Look, the thing to me that's impressive is what Kirby Smart said after the game. He had agents call. Brock Bowers had agents call him and say, do not play in this game. Do not play the rest of the year. Just sit out.
Hold out.
Go get your money. And what did Brock Bowers say? He said it pissed him off. That's what he literally told Kirby Smart. He said, these people are telling me not to play the game that I love. These people are telling me not to play college football with my boys. And what does Brock Bowers do? He said it pisses him off, and those people won't be representing him. He comes back in only 26 days, and I know he didn't go for like 100 yards, but he made an impact, not just 3 catches, 34 yards, whatever it was, and a touchdown. He blocked his rear end off. Like, you watched him on plays. It wasn't like he was taking plays off. He played his butt off. He didn't have to play. Jackson Smith and Jigba last year for Ohio State was injured. It was a different injury. And Ohio State made the playoffs, and he chose to sit out because he wanted to be a first-round pick. He even said he could have played, but he didn't even want to play in the playoffs so he could get his bag. You didn't see that out of Brock Bowers, and that's what I want to see out of all college players. You don't see that anymore. Brock could have easily said, I'm shutting it down. Yep. Don't want to risk getting injured.
I think a lot of people thought he would do that. For sure would do that. But that just shows, that it's still here. It's still in here for a lot of players. And, especially somebody like him, and the way that the position of tight end is such he's like the model of what it is. He fits it perfectly.
It's physical. It's it's not as flashy as a receiver. You've got to get in the trenches. You're an extension of the O-line on run plays. You were blocking. I know on the outside you'll see receivers do this a lot and push. No, a tight end, they're going after the middle linebacker. They're going after edges, chipping. I mean, Brock Bowers embodies what it means to me to be a college athlete and to be a tight end. And, man, I know you'll never see this, but, that was awesome, man. And, I think you're the best player in the country because of what you can do and what you did Saturday by playing in that football game.
Georgia as a whole is just I see them as a really balanced team, whereas before, they were good on offense. They won 2 championships in a row, but they were a little bit stronger on defense.
Defensive led.
But I would think they're a little more balanced now. It's my observation.
I think their offense is better than their defense.
I think it's flipped
for the first time in a long time. I was telling my buddy this. In my lifetime, I've been following the Georgia Bulldogs very closely since 2011. I've seen a lot of sad times, a lot of good times, especially lately. This is the best offense Georgia has had since I became a fan 12 years ago. 12 years ago. This is the best offense statistically maybe ever that Georgia's had. It's very close. This is a very dangerous and scary offense, and this game against Ole Miss showed me something. In years past, if you were a Georgia fan, you were scared of the shootout. You didn't want to get in a shootout with someone because you knew your offense, yes, they were good, but they couldn't put up 50, 60 points. I don't think Georgia's scared of a shootout anymore. If they get in a shootout, I think it might favor Georgia. Their offense is so good.
I could see that. I would agree with that.
And after that Ole Miss game, it made me think, is there anybody that's going to be able to beat Georgia this year?
That team is the embodiment of what? Okay, so you have all the awards. You have individual awards, Heisman. You got the Maxwell. There's the Biletnikoff. There's so many of these awards that these individual players get. But, when you're on a team like Georgia, everybody makes each other better. Like, it's 11 guys on offense, 11 guys on defense. You do your job to the best of your abilities, and if everybody does that with one cohesive unit, you are successful like Georgia is. And they're just so elite in that offensive line, allowing Carson Beck to just literally sit back there. He could have been reading a book. In playing the game at the same time, it wouldn't have mattered.
This is the crazy part, and this is not false information. This is true. I touched Carson Beck as many times as anyone on Ole Miss did Saturday. It wasn't like after he threw it, he got hit. He never fell on the ground except when he slid. He never even got tackled. They never put a hand they never even came up to him after he threw the ball and bear hugged him or grabbed him. They never touched him. So I don't know if I've ever seen that in a college football game.
I don't think I've ever. I mean, no pressure at all. And on
he
the
had
flip
one.
side,
He had one, but he sidestepped it and then he threw the ball. The guy still didn't touch him.
It's like nothing didn't phase him. And you look on the other side of the ball, you had a lot of disruption with Jackson Dart. He did get banged up in the game. That defensive line for Georgia really disrupted.
I will say Ole Miss had several linemen injured.
They did.
Both
you
tackles could tell, and center got hurt because
the
center that came in second.
It was bless his heart. He struggled there.
If you hear "bless your heart" in the South, you don't know what that means. It ain't good.
And look, they did what they had to do. It was a little ugly, but hey, this is so Georgia and the East and West is decided. It's gonna be Georgia and Alabama in the SEC championship game.
Let me put you on the spot right quick. Sorry, Georgia versus Alabama in the SEC championship game. Right now, if you had to put, let's say, your life savings on the line, Georgia or the field to win the national title, just gut feeling. Three-peating is impossible, sort of. It's never been done since 1930 in college football. This would be history.
Versus the field, so that could be in Alabama if some crazy something happens.
It could be Michigan. It could be Ohio State. It could be Texas. You taking Georgia or the field, your life depends on it.
I know you'll be excited to hear this. I don't see how you can go against Georgia. I just, at this point, I don't know. All right, so you've got, on the other hand, let's look at who you've got. You've got a Jalen Milroe for Alabama.
He's
hitting
playing
his
really,
stride.
really well.
He's hitting his stride. He's figuring it out.
Of course he is.
Playing lights out, I would think. Putting up some great numbers. You've got a Ohio State team.
Undefeated.
Best
wide receiver in the country. Great defense. Michigan. They've got people signals. They've got no head coach. But they're really, really, really good. great defense, great run game. You've got Oregon. Bo Nix right now I think is playing like the best quarterback in the country. You've got Washington undefeated, beat Oregon head-to-head. Probably got the best receiving core in the country. You've got Texas can still make it. Quinn Ewers is healthy now. A.D. Mitchell, Xavier Worthy on the outside, good defense. I just don't know if any of them can beat Georgia, and I'm not trying to sound like a – because, look, a three-peat, when I came into this season, I was thinking, man, we've won 2 in a row. The odds of 3 in a row, never been done since 1930. Mm-hmm. I don't even count that. That's pre, World War II. That's a long time ago. Back-to-back had never been done in the playoff era until Kirby Smart. If he wins 3 in a row, you're talking crazy category, especially back-to-back undefeated seasons. That's never been done in the college football playoff era.
What if this game here, what if this is another, if somehow Alabama gets into the playoff, doing whatever they have to do.
They got to win the SEC championship.
Say that it ends up being another Georgia-Alabama championship game.
Mm-hmm.
Is that Georgia's greatest chance of losing the national
against
championship
Alabama?
Game? Or would you think it's who would give them?
Who gives Georgia the best game?
Who gives them the best game?
I was telling my buddy this. I don't think it's even close. It's Michigan. I think Michigan and Georgia are the best 2 teams in the country, in my opinion, and I think they're in a tier by themselves. I think Michigan's got a great defense, a really good offensive line, probably the second best O-line in the country, only behind Georgia. J.J. McCarthy's really talented. They can run the ball really well. I think it's Michigan, and we can make all the jokes we want about the signals. That was my national championship prediction coming into the year that we did on this very show. Exactly. I said Georgia, Michigan. I still feel that way. We'll see next week, the game, Ohio State, Michigan. I don't think Ohio State can beat Michigan. They haven't the last 2 years. I don't feel like they're going to be able to this time. If you're asking me outside of Michigan, because I do think those are the best 2 teams in the country, I think you got to look at it's either Alabama or Oregon. I think it's one of those. Because what did I say you have to beat Georgia? An elite QB.
Yeah.
Jalen Milroe and Bo Nix can both be elite in 2 very different ways. Milroe with his legs, Nix more with his arm. But I think Michigan poses the biggest threat to UGA and to stop the three-peat. Of course, they've got to get through Alabama first in the SEC championship, which I think Bama's probably their second biggest threat. So Georgia's going to have to earn the three-peat, just like they've earned the last 2 national titles.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
See, I actually thought it would be Georgia-Michigan last year. That's who I picked to be in the
well,
championship
everybody
last
did.
year.
No one thought, no way TCU beats Michigan, right? But they did, crazily enough. And what happened to TCU in the national championship? Same thing that happened to Ole Miss this weekend. Talent discrepancy.
Exactly.
But anyway, we've talked about this for a while. The only other game we were going to mention from this past weekend was, man, who saw Missouri doing that to Tennessee? What was the final? 36-7, something like that. They put a whooping on them. I didn't see it coming. I don't think many people in the country saw it coming. I'm sure a lot of people in the country picked Missouri, but nobody picked Missouri by 30. In Como, very close game, really, until halftime. And then after halftime, second half woes again for Tennessee, just like against Alabama. Missouri ran away with it. Cody Schrader, shout out. First SEC player ever with 200 rushing yards and 100 receiving yards in a game. He had 300 and something yards by himself. Transferred from D2. Heck of a game for Cody Schrader. Game of his life. Man, they did whatever they wanted to Tennessee. Yep. They pounded the rock. Tennessee had no answer for the run game. They didn't even really need to throw it that much. Cody Schrader carried, and they kicked their tail. Tennessee went for a feel-good field goal late. He missed it. It was funny because Tennessee ran it up on Missouri last year and called a timeout before the kneel when they were up by like 30. So, and Missouri's coach Eli D pulls up on Josh Heupel and says, "We stand on business, Josh."
And then runs away into the locker room.
I don't know about the running away. That wasn't as cool, but look, Tennessee got blasted. Missouri is a really, 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 really good team. Remember what I said last week? I said on this show with Cole and you, I said, I think a lot of people are discounting Georgia's win over Missouri by 9. I said a lot of people are saying they only beat Missouri by 9 points. Remember, I said this exact thing. I said Georgia only beat Missouri by 9 points, and a lot of people that are casuals look at that and say, well, that's not a good win for Georgia. They only beat Missouri by 9. I hate to tell you, that's a great win for Georgia because Missouri is a really, really good football team. What are they now? 9th in the country?
Yep. Yes.
Ranked 9th, top 10
they
team.
Swapped with Ole Miss.
Eli Drinkowitz, if he wins this week, which he should, and wins next week, which he should, they're a 10-win team. I can't tell you.
Could possibly knock Ole Miss out of a New Year's 6. I don't know how that's going to go.
2013, I think, was the last time Missouri won 10 games. They wanted Eli Drinkowitz out before this season. He was on the hot seat coming into this year.
He was definitely sweating coming into this year.
I don't think they're worried about it anymore.
No.
I've even seen rumors he might go to, well, we'll talk about that in a minute.
Ooh, man.
But
some spicy things ahead, folks.
Man, Tennessee, you're just not what you were last year. Not saying Tennessee is still a good team, but I think expectations were kind of to run back what they did last year. They just don't have the quarterback they had last year. They don't have the receivers. They're just not as good of a team. Defense has improved this year, I think, but you're a good team this year. You're not a great team. And you want to say anything about this game or move on?
You know, I never bought into Tennessee being the big competitor in the East. I know some people did. I really thought it was Kentucky, and I say this every week. Thought it was Kentucky, and then here comes Missouri, and good for them. Like they really showed that they just came out of nowhere. There's no other way. Every time we talk about Missouri, I just think about how they came out of nowhere. They came to this game, they made a statement. I mean, that was a statement, and I remember seeing versus Kansas State, they had that 61-yard field goal to win that game, and those fans stormed that field in Columbia, Missouri, because like that was a big thing. Wow, we got this big win at this time where we might lose our coach at the end of this year. There's uncertainty, and then they're able to put together a season like this. That's great to see, and good for them. They're deserving of every bit of it. And like you said, you can say whatever you want. Georgia slept through the game. I don't know. I've heard so many different things about that ball game, Georgia and Missouri. But Missouri's a great team, and they've got a good future. And Drink, congratulations, buddy. You think he's going to get an extension? Like, you think he's going to get a raise?
Oh, yeah. He'll get an extension based off this year alone and if he stays put. But, man, I don't want to say this. I hope Missouri gets that New Year's Six Bowl spot. And I know as an Ole Miss fan you want it, but
it's still possible. There's so many different scenarios.
Yeah. I'd love to see Missouri get a New Year's Six Bowl just because they haven't in such a long time. It'd be cool to see. But there's bigger fish to fry. There's some stuff going around, especially for teams that wear maroon.
Ooh. The exact same color scheme. Is that what you're saying? The exact same color scheme?
Yeah. So, Brandon, I don't know if you heard about this, but the police in Texas received several phone calls on this past Sunday, especially in the morning hours into lunch. They kept hearing a loud beeping noise, and a lot of people were frightened and calling 911. Turns out it was the massive U-Haul backing up to Jimbo's ranch, and then right beside it was the massive Brink truck backing up to unload Jimbo's money in his bank.
How does that happen?
So Jimbo Fisher got fired. Jimbo Fisher, 45 and 25, I believe, at Texas A&M in his career. Look, if I was to say 45-25 in his career at Mississippi State, 45-25 at Arkansas.
Oh boy.
45-25 at South Carolina. You're probably like, oh, he wouldn't get fired. He wouldn't in those situations. But 45-25 at Texas A&M with the resources that you have and $100 million next to your name, 45-25 isn't enough. Look, the Jimbo era was utter disappointment. Let's just be honest about it. They brought him in from Florida State. He had won a national title. He signed the biggest contract at the time in coaching history, over $100 million over 10 years. And it was just marked by utter disaster. 2020 was by far his best season. Only lost one game that year to Alabama, a stacked Alabama team. Got left out of the playoff. Every other year other than that was disappointment. Last year, they were coming off the biggest or best recruiting class ever. Went 5-7. This year, tons of talent. That recruiting class has a year under their belt. Going to be a big year. They might go 7-5, 8-4, somewhere in that area. Just disappointment. I feel bad for A&M fans. I mean, you spent all this money. You brought in the big-name coach. You bring in all these great recruits. You have NIL to splurge. You've got that oil field money.
Yeah. They're hurting out there, aren't they?
Yeah,
they're really hurting.
You've got it all. You've got one of the biggest budgets in college football, and you can't get over the hump. That's how I would describe it. A&M hasn't been a terrible team under Jimbo, but they ain't been a great team either. They've been what the kids call today mid. They've been average, and when you're getting paid $100 million, you can't be average or mid. You've had kids get kicked out of there for reckless driving, drugs, all types of kids dismissed from the program over the past few years. Controversy with should Jimbo still be calling plays. He brings in an offensive coordinator. This should have happened a while back. We talked about it weeks ago that Jimbo probably – it's time to tear it down. Look, he could have probably given you 5 or 6 more 8-4, maybe 9-win seasons, but he was never going to win you a national title. I think it's good. The A&M needed to do this. They've got to pay him a buttload of money, $76 million. Not all at one time, but they've got to pay that overtime. Saw this year, or over the next year, he's going to be making $28,000 a day. Sweet. Over the next year. So my year's salary. But seriously, man.
Well, and the thing about that, like Ross Bjork said, the athletic director there at A&M said in the press conference the other day, Sunday to be exact, he didn't make it out to be a big deal, the buyout thing, they're just going to adjust the budget a little bit. And when you're a school like Texas A&M and you've got all those boosters, you've got all that money, and you're going to continue to make more money. The contracts, the TV contracts, all that's going to just keep on going up and up and up. They're going to adjust here and there, in the budget, things like that. And it's probably really not even going to make a difference, honestly. Like they're not going to you're not going to visually know unless you know that they're paying an ex-coach $76 million over however long it was. I don't know what the term is, but
I know they owe him like $13 million by March, something like that, I think. But
what will Jimbo do?
I mean, what is he going to
do? This poor man is out of a job.
In today's economy.
What is he going to do? Like, how is he going to live?
I don't know, man. But if I ever have a son, I'm definitely going to tell him he needs to be an SEC football coach. That's going to be my goal. There's only 16 of them now, so there's better odds. Right. But seriously.
Hey, but look, Ross Bjork said that the conversation with Jimbo was quick and cordial. It was probably what do you think? How long do you think that conversation was? Like, what was the back and forth?
Great. Where's the door? I mean, that's what mine would be like.
Say, Jimbo, I think we're gonna let you go. I don't know. I think back to what Ed Ogeron, his little experience with his buyout at LSU. Basically what you said, where's the door? Which door you want me to go out of? And
when do you want me to go out?
When do you want me to go?
And he only got like $17 million. So, but with the Jimbo, he might be the smartest man alive. Really, he might have tanked to get fired to get this money. No, I don't think he did that. But evil genius conspiracy theory hat on. College football is more stressful than it's ever been with the transfer portal, NIL, all this. Let's just be mediocre a couple years.
You know, you can tell, though, like, he's really been more, I don't want to use the word obnoxious. That's really not what it is, but he's been kind of really jumpy. Seems like he's been on the edge all season. And look, Jimbo, that's just how he is. He's a fast talker with that southern drawl that he's got. But, you know, he's been sweating. Like, you can tell that the pressure was getting to him. And, I mean, I bet he's smiling today, though.
Oh.
I mean, I bet he's not sweating today. I mean, he's...
And, you know...
That's the business of college football.
This is a good move by A&M. I think it was time. It's time to rebuild. And, man, whoever gets this job's got a great roster to start a rebuild with. With the transfer portal and the era we're in, they can be competitors next year. Yeah. Just next year for the SEC. With the roster they have and the portal. Some names that have been thrown out there early. Dan Lanning was thrown out there. He's not leaving, he said. He's locked in at Oregon. Mike Norvell's been thrown out there, Florida State's coach.
Yeah.
He dismissed it, but he didn't say no. But he didn't say, like... I don't think Lane Kiffin's going. That's been thrown around. Jeff Traylor at UTSA has been thrown around. It's a guy, I don't know if you want to... I mean, he's never been a Power 5 football coach. But that name's been thrown around. Look, they've got the money. They can go out and try to lure anybody they want. I mean, they've got the budget. I've heard it said like this. I forgot who said it. But it makes sense. What's stopping you? Why wouldn't you go out and just offer Kirby Smart? Why wouldn't you go out and offer anybody? With the amount of money you have, at least, what's the worst they're going to say? No?
No, exactly.
But, you know, I think they need to bring somebody in that's done this before, that's, like, coached at the Power 5 level. I don't think it's the time to take a shot on somebody, you know, and just hope that they're good. You need to get somebody that's proven. And I've heard, this was an interesting one. I heard that Eli Drinkowitz actually, apparently to some sources, that he would have been interested in the Auburn job last year.
Really?
And that, you know, with this big year Missouri just had, he's familiar with the SEC.
Yeah.
He's shown he can win at an SEC program. I've heard a few rumors that Texas A&M might be interested in old Drink coming down to College Station.
How about that?
I don't know, but I do think you need to bring in someone who has ran a program before, can handle this situation, and whoever it is, it's a great job. It's probably a top 20, at least top 20 job in the country, probably top 15, maybe top 10.
It's a huge brand program.
Yeah,
I mean,
and excuse me, but yeah. I mean, no one thought Brian Kelly would leave Notre Dame, and he wound up at LSU. Kirby's not leaving. I've heard Dabo. Why would you bring in Dabo? Like, we haven't seen that his way can work in today's college football. I don't think you need to bring Dabo into College Station.
That could be a disaster waiting to happen.
But I've even seen Dan Campbell from the Detroit Lions.
I read something about that earlier today.
That's out of left field.
That is, yeah.
I mean, he's doing a great job with the Lions, but that's a lot different than today's college football. But, yeah, it was a good move by A&M. It's a lot of money. It's unfathomable money, more money than I'll ever see in my lifetime. But good for Jimbo and good for Texas A&M. Both winners in the situation.
That's
you
right.
get rid of Jimbo gets $76 million.
Fans are excited.
Yeah, I mean, I
Fan
think
base
it's a good
should be
move all the way
excited.
around. Now, there's about to be a mass exodus in the portal, which that's going to be, no pun intended, the wild, wild west out there in Texas.
That's just going to be good for all the other programs out there.
Yeah.
I mean,
Lane
that's
Kiffin, I'll tell you, I'll say it now. Remember this, write it down. This is, I think, the biggest winner in the portal. Portal hadn't even opened yet. I'm going to call Hugh Freeze right now. I think Hugh Freeze is going to be a huge winner in the portal. I think Hugh Freeze, man, what I've seen at Auburn, they've been hot the last 2 weeks. I think Auburn might have hit a home run with Hugh Freeze. I think today's college football, he's always been a good recruiter. Rather, it wasn't legal back then, but I think Hugh Freeze is going to do really good at Auburn. I think he's going to benefit from Jimbo being fired. I think watch Auburn to pull some of these kids in from A&M, and I know they're already talking to the 5-star receiver that was committed to A&M. But yeah,
Hugh has a way. Like, look, they've had those issues. He had those recruiting violations, all that. But Hugh Freeze, and I've never had an issue with Hugh Freeze. Like that. Like some people may find that hard to believe, considering my alma mater. But I've always liked the guy. He's a great recruiter because he can connect with these kids. Like, he has that special way of connecting with people. And I know, like, that may not mean as much these days. Like, in the past, you had to really be able to connect with a kid. A certain coach up at Michigan is, he gets a little too close, if you ask me, when he's recruiting. You ever heard about that? The sleepovers with the recruits, Harbaugh?
I haven't heard that.
Yeah.
I know
Sleepovers with the recruits.
But I've heard of some. Well, I ain't even gonna go there.
Eat milk and cookies and play Xbox. I don't know what they do, but Hugh Freeze is a. I agree with you. I think he's got.
Like, abstractly, like, biggest winner in this is Hugh Freeze, in my opinion. Like, I'm calling my shot there. I think Hugh Freeze is going to benefit from Jimbo being fired, which is weird and really, like, abstract. But that's my prediction. I think Auburn's going to be a big-time player in the portal going forward and on the recruiting trail. All right, Brandon, do you want to segue into games this week? We ready for that?
Let's do it. The slate, in the SEC at least, is a little subpar. I mean, this is that part of the season right before rivalry week where you've got a lot of non-conference games, a lot of FCS games and such. I'll throw up here for you video viewers the whole slate from top to bottom from 11 a.m. all the way to 7 p.m. Central Time. That'd be 12 p.m. noon Eastern and 8 p.m. But as we look here, you've got that's Chattanooga going to Tuscaloosa to play number 8 Alabama. That's going to be ESPN Plus. A lot of these games I notice are going to be streaming. So if you're a fan of these teams, keep a watch on that. But 11 a.m. Central, Chattanooga, Alabama, that's just one of those things where you just, I mean, what was there to say about that, Zach?
Well, let's just make this fun. So the slate's pretty weak this week. Well, I shouldn't have put those words back to back, huh? But, yeah, the slate's not that great this week. As Brandon was saying, you can look at the logos, and some of them you might not recognize. Like the first one, that's T.O., Terrell Owens' alma mater. Chattanooga. Got Abilene Christian. Got ULM, USM, New Mexico State, FIU, Georgia State. A lot of Group of 5 teams. Of course, like Brandon said, there's a couple good games mixed in. But let's make this fun, Brandon. Okay. I'm going to ask you, we'll make it a game, and we'll see who wins next week. So you might want to write this down.
I got my pen.
Alabama is hosting Chattanooga. Let's just say Chattanooga over or under 300 team yards. What's your answer?
Chattanooga over under
300 yards as a team against Alabama's defense.
Under.
All right. Brandon takes the under on Chattanooga. That's going to be a shellacking. Alabama's going to beat them by a bunch. I agree with Brandon. I'll take the under 300 total yards from Chattanooga. ULM at Ole Miss. Let's see what prop we want to put with this one. All right, Brandon. ULM against Ole Miss. They're 2-8. They're awful. ULM over or under 14 points against Ole Miss.
That is kind of tricky. Over under 14 points. So two touchdowns and a field goal would do it. You know what? It's crazy to say. I'm going to go over.
I'm going to take the under. I don't think Ole Miss will allow. Now, 14's a break. Neither of us win. But if it's over 14, you get the win. If it's under, I get the win. I don't think Ole Miss will allow more than 14 to ULM. They're pretty bad. Ole Miss wins this one big. I don't know. There's no point in us talking about these other than to make it a fun game. What's this segment called? We've never done this. We'll think of a name for it. Southern Miss at Mississippi State again. This one going to be closer than the other two, but Mississippi State should still win comfortably. Southern Miss is one of the worst teams in FBS. They're not good. Let's see, Brandon. We know Mississippi State's had struggles. Over or under 1.5 passing touchdowns for Mississippi State.
Ooh. Now, you know they got a touchdown last week.
But it was a kick return.
It was on a kick return. So over under
1.5 passing touchdowns for Mississippi State.
Passing TD?
Yeah.
I don't know. New coach, new interim coach.
Who's even the quarterback? Mike Wright or Chris Parson, or is Will Rogers coming back?
No clue. At this point, if you're Will Rogers, why rush back if you don't have to?
Because he's a gamer, Brandon.
Okay.
We just talked about it with Bowers.
He's got heart. You know what? I can respect that. But it's going to be under 1.5.
I'll take the over.
So I see one of us is gonna win. Actually win.
Yeah.
One of us is gonna actually lose. It's not gonna be.
That's
good.
I'll take Mississippi State over 1.5 passing touchdowns as a team. I don't know who's gonna do it or who's gonna be quarterback, but they're gonna get at least 2. All right, Abilene Christian at College Station against Texas A&M. New interim coach there for Texas A&M. Abilene Christian, not a good team. What do we want to do with this one? Over or under 550 total yards for Texas A&M.
550 total yards.
Yeah.
I'll go under.
I will too. I think A&M wins this comfortably, but their offense isn't really designed to put up a ton of yards. They don't have a great offense. I think they blow out Abilene Christian, but they won't get 550 total yards. We'll skip UGA at Tennessee to do an actual breakdown. New Mexico State, who's actually like 8-2, at Auburn, but they've played nobody. And Auburn's hot right now. I think Auburn wins this game easily. Sets up what could be an interesting Iron Bowl with how hot Auburn's been lately. Let's just do one random. So Auburn's got a good defense. Over or under 1.5 interceptions for New Mexico State. Will they throw over or under 1.5 interceptions?
You're good at coming up with this stuff. INTs. Ooh, man. You know what? Peyton Thorne has he's not performed that well. But I don't. You know what? Give me an over.
No, I meant is New Mexico State throwing 1.5 more interceptions?
You had me flustered there. Yes.
All right, you'll take the over.
Man, I was hoping he was going to.
They'll get one. Give me the under just for fun.
Okay.
All right,
I thought you were trying to throw some shade at Auburn there. Okay.
No. Florida at Missouri. We'll save that. FIU at Arkansas. Over under 40 total points between both teams. FIU at Arkansas.
Under 40?
Over under 40 total points, like combined for each team.
Oh, man.
So, 21-20 would be over.
Ah, man, that 40 is a pretty low number, even for a team like Arkansas. Give me over. You're going to say under.
I'm going to take the over. FIU is pretty bad.
Okay.
All right. Kentucky at South Carolina. We'll save it, even though I don't have a lot to say. It's kind of a meaningless game at this point. Georgia State at LSU. Let's do a Jaden Daniels one. Jaden Daniels over under 400 passing yards.
Just passing, not total.
Just passing.
Oh, man. You know what? With the numbers that he's putting in, this may be a little crazy. I'm going to go over.
I'm going to go under. I think he'll have over 400 total.
You think it's going to be balanced? You think it's going to be a balance?
He'll have over 400 total, but he won't have 400 passing.
That's a pretty big feat.
Yeah.
Well, you would think that after a certain point in this game, they're probably going to suspend the pass.
Yeah.
At some point.
And just run the football. All right, let's go and break down some. We'll start with Kentucky, South Carolina. We'll go out of order, but unless you just have a big breakdown ready.
No, you go right ahead, sir.
It's in Columbia at night. Historically, that's been a tough place to play. Ask Tennessee. I just think Kentucky's got the better football team. I'll take Kentucky to win straight out. I don't know the spread. Do you?
No, I can get that for you.
Not sure the spread. We'll have that in a second, but I'll take Kentucky just to win outright. I think they're the better team, better defense, better offensive line. South Carolina's line of scrimmages is pretty abysmal. Devin Leary, probably not as good as Spencer Rattler. I don't know. It's Columbia. It's night. It's going to be close, I think. Senior night maybe for South Carolina. Not 100% sure, but I think. What's the spread?
Half of a point. South Carolina minus half a point.
So South Carolina's a half a point favorite. Give me Kentucky outright. There's, obviously, I can't say to cover because it's half a point. So give me Kentucky to win. I'll say the final score is 31 to 27 Kentucky.
31-27 Kentucky.
Yeah.
It's an ugly game. You've got two teams. One team in Kentucky that's pretty one-dimensional. South Carolina, they just can't get anything done. They can't establish rhythm. I'm going to take Kentucky, though, in this ball game as well. There's not much more to say about it. But I'll say give me 28-17 Kentucky.
28-17 Kentucky.
The over-under on this game is I know we just like the total points. It's 54.5, but that seems to be like the default.
Yeah, right around 55-50. All right, next game up, we have Missouri hosting the Gators of Florida. Number 9, Missouri hosts Florida. I'm going to say, obviously, I'm going to take Missouri to win. Well, look, we just went on a whole rant about how good Missouri is. They're a better team than Florida. Missouri knows if they win this and they win their next one, they're a 10-win team. Florida does have to fight. If they win this, they'll be bowl eligible. I just don't think they get it done. Missouri's just more complete, offense, defense, the whole 9 yards. Give me Missouri to win this one.
Would you like to hear the spread?
Yeah.
Just for fun in this game.
Kicks and giggles?
Yes, absolutely. Spread in this ball game is Missouri 11 points.
Missouri by 11. Give me Missouri to win and to cover. Give me Missouri. Florida's defense still isn't that bad. Give me Missouri 35, Florida 20. So they win by 15.
Yeah, okay. Same here, Missouri. Florida is they're 5-5, 3-4 in the conference.
Can't believe they lost to Arkansas at home. That's one of those SEC games that baffles you at the end of the year when you look back. Florida loses at home to that Arkansas team.
Went to overtime, regardless.
And if you win that, you're bowl eligible. Yeah. And they got to play Florida State next weekend.
See, now you're staring down a no bowl game. After next week, you go to the house and it's all over. Florida, they have to win this game, but
if they want to make a bowl.
If they want to make a bowl, if they want any hope, anything to hang their hat on, but I don't see it happen. Missouri's just so tough, and if anything, they're getting better. Give me Missouri. What was I going to say? 41.
I don't know what you were going to say, Brandon.
Oh, is that right? Okay. Give me 41-28. I was gonna say 41-31, but I don't see a position where Missouri doesn't cover. So give me Missouri 41-28. Next time you need to read my mind next time. So
I'm gonna
help
try
me out a little bit.
All right, so next up is the Georgia Bulldogs traveling to Knoxville to play the Tennessee Volunteers, the number 1 Georgia Bulldogs, and
that's right.
The spread is 10. Last time I looked on ESPN, the spread was 10. Look, Georgia, they looked elite last weekend.
Yep.
Tennessee did not look elite, but Tennessee's a whole different team at home. Regardless, though, I don't think Tennessee has the offense to keep up with Georgia's offense. Tennessee plays a lot of cover 3. They'll switch to man some, but Tennessee brings the house. Tennessee sends blitzers, and they come after the quarterback, and they really try to clog up the run game. With that offensive line of Georgia, I just don't think they're going to – they might get pressure a couple times. I don't know if they're going to be in Carson Beck's face all day long. I don't see that happening. I don't think they have the offense to keep up with Georgia, and I think Georgia's defense will get a stop way before Tennessee's defense will get a stop. Because if you shut down the run game of Tennessee, it's not good. And I think Georgia has the guys to shut down Tennessee's run game. Give me Georgia to win. I know it's going to be in Neyland. It's going to be a rowdy crowd. 2:30 CBS. This is kind of like, if Tennessee wins, it'll be huge. They knock off the number 1 team, break the 27-game win streak, rush the field, probably tear down the goalpost, throw it in the river.
Yep. Again.
But give me Georgia to win. I'm going to say Dogs 38, Tennessee 17. So Georgia covers.
What more is there to say? Tennessee is not a consistent team. Georgia is... Well, look, we talked enough about Georgia earlier. Georgia gets the win. According to this, Zach, you said 2:30 CBS, 3:30 Eastern. The weather here has got this 71 degrees. It's going to be an incredible...
Perfect weather
for a football game, but that's not going to matter. Look, the 102 plus strong in Neyland are going to be there. They're going to be ready for the upset, but the upset is not going to happen. I'll take UGA 35-24, cover the spread, and move on down the road.
Yeah, I think Georgia right now is hitting their stride, as is Alabama. I think that's going to be a heck of a game. The SEC championship in Atlanta, because I think the best two teams in the SEC are hitting their stride at the right time. And look, that's what I'm gearing up for. These games this week aren't that interesting to me. I think this game will be pretty good for maybe the half.
Yeah.
Then I see Georgia opening it up. But, man, I'm really just looking forward to the SEC title. But
that should be a great game, great matchup. I was thinking about this the other day, Zach, talking about the SEC championship game. CBS, I guess that'll be the end of the road for the partnership between CBS and the SEC, right? I believe so.
Yeah, I guess it is. This is the last ever CBS 2:30 kick.
It kind of made me sad the other day when I was thinking about that, because I can picture it now. This game's on, and whatever happens, happens. Should be a good game. But at the end, you've got Gary Danielson,
Brad Nessler.
Do you think Vern Lundquist makes an appearance on that broadcast?
That would be awesome, but I don't see it happening. That would make my life.
I can picture it now. Signing off for the last time, and then you see a big montage of some big games over the, 20-plus, near 30-year?
Yeah.
Probably.
You get a little teary-eyed?
Well, I will Saturday of SEC.
Last time we hear that thing, SEC championship. Don't they usually have it?
Yeah.
So that's the last time we'll hear that theme.
So I have a tear in my eye as they go off the air for the last time. It is an era that, and I've also been thinking about this, like so many things are changing in this day and time. Like it's more things that I'm going to have to explain to my children, my future children. Like, hey, back in my day, there was this. These things that they don't even know. They just don't know. They're not going to know. Same thing with your children, with your child. You're going to have to explain all this, Zach.
Yeah, it's good. Man. Well, I could pull up the old YouTube. If that's still if YouTube leaves, I really will cry. But,
in another flashback earlier, I was watching, when I was eating lunch today, I was just scrolling on YouTube, and I came across some old Jefferson Pilot sports broadcasts. I think it was like an Egg Bowl from like 1997 or something. Mm-hmm. that popped up on there. That's another thing, man. Like an old, Saturday morning. Just.
You know what I watched on YouTube today?
What's that?
I was definitely parked, not doing my job. But sorry, Blake, if you're watching. But I watched on YouTube. The OG Fortnite is back. They brought back the original map. Tim the Tap Man, Nick Merckx, all the big guys playing Fortnite, and it was just, I don't know if any of y'all out there ever played Fortnite or if you did, Brandon, but 2018 Fortnite drops, brought back so many memories. COVID, when we played Fortnite, COVID was awful, and people lost a lot of loved ones, and it's terrible. It really was. The shutdown sucked, but I had some of my best video game memories during COVID. Because no one had anything better to do.
You have nothing but time.
Yeah.
Nothing but time.
Sleep schedule was go to sleep at 7 a.m., wake up at 4 p.m. Literally.
That's what I'm talking about, brother.
I wasn't married at the time, obviously. Neither did I. I didn't have a girlfriend either, which I think that's pretty clear. But look, if you're watching on Twitch, if you're watching on YouTube, or if you're seeing this after the fact on YouTube, or you're listening on podcast, on Apple, on Spotify, wherever you may find us. Look, we appreciate y'all for riding along with us. We know there's a lot of other programs you could watch. Not on Twitch, though. We're the only ones. But right. There's a lot of other great college football content out there. But look, we believe in what we're doing. We believe that we have something special here at RideAlong Sports. We believe that in the brand that we're building, and we're not going to stop. We're going to keep building. We're going to keep getting bigger and better. Brandon does a great job. He busts his tail to have this out every week. I just sit here and talk like an idiot about stuff we love. We're passionate about college football. We're going to keep doing this throughout the off season. We believe in what we're doing. We know it can work. And, we're going to keep grinding. We hope y'all keep listening. We hope y'all share this with some of your buddies. Send it in your group message. Send it to your mama. Send it to your daddy. Send it to your stepmama, your stepdaddy, your stepson. Whoever you need to send it to. We don't care. We just want people to listen and to enjoy our content.
Give us recommendations. Tell us what you think. Like, drop a comment. Don't be afraid to say anything. Well, I would put a disclaimer on that, but people are going to say what they're going to say. But let us know what you think. Give us your opinions and react with us if you come across this and you hear something you like, hear something you don't like, something you agree with, disagree with, whatever it may be. Like, we want that interaction between whoever's listening, whoever's watching us, because I believe that's very important.
And look, you can reach us at RideAlong Sports via email if there's something you want to say. RideAlong Sports on Twitter, RideAlong Sports on Instagram, RideAlong Sports on Twitch, RideAlong Sports on YouTube, RideAlong Sports on TikTok. We've got all the socials, RideAlong Sports on Apple, RideAlong Sports on Spotify. Please rate, give us a review, and sharing it is the best thing you can do for us. Share this with other people. Share it to your Instagram story, to your timeline, your Facebook, if you're 90, whatever. And keep riding with us, and we're going to keep bringing you great content. I know it was a shorter show tonight, but there's still college football, and if there's still college football in the world, we're still going to be talking. So, Brandon, do you have anything you want to close with?
Not much. Just looking forward to another week as we continue on, as we ride on into the sunset. January, whatever the date is when the national championship gets here. We're just riding along. We're trying to enjoy every second. We're trying to enjoy all the scenery that passes by as we just try to do this every week. And we got a lot of content up ahead. We got a lot in the holster for the future. When off season comes, RideAlong Sports does not slow down. If anything, we kick it into fifth gear, buddy.
Yes, sir.
You agree with that?
Yes, sir. Little Dale Earnhardt.
Yep.
Dale, yeah, brother. But we're about to peel out of here, make like a banana and split. Y'all keep it real. Hope your team wins this weekend unless you're a Tennessee Volunteer fan. And we will see y'all next time. Peace.
Peace.